Hello, and welcome to IFMA's monthly webinar series. Today, we are going to be discussing aligning facility management excellence, how IFMA supports GSA goals and removes the guesswork. Today with me, I'm going to be having Kim Jackson, our webinar host, as well as Gail Head here. And hi, ladies. Thanks for coming on. Please don't forget to like us, share us, and please comment where you're joining from today. We love to hear where everyone is joining from. And with that, Gail, will you go ahead and get us started, please?
Absolutely. So we are IFMA, the International Facility Management Association. We've been in this business for over 40 years. We are globally recognized. So that means that we are in over 130 countries right now. And we do have over 24,000 members. Our mission is to lead the future of the built environment to make the world a better place. Our vision is to advance our collective knowledge, value, and growth for FM professionals to perform at their highest level. One way we're able to do that is through professional development. So we're going to go over a little bit about that today and how we kind of align with GSA and federal buildings.
Thanks so much, Gail, for giving us a little bit of a background of IFMA. Some of you may be familiar with us already. We do want to kind of go over a little bit about what you can expect today. We're going to dive right into the FBPTA and discuss how we align with that, as well as other GSA goals. We'll talk a little bit more about IFMA's professional development and credentials that we have available. Our goal here is to help make this easy. So we're going to talk about removing some of the guesswork and where to find some things, and also go over practical strategies and how to implement this, as well as some of the career benefits of what we have to offer and the thought leadership that we have to share. So let's go ahead and get this kicked off, Kim, with the FBPTA.
Thanks, Starlin. Hi, everybody. Kim here, coming to you from Houston, actually Cyprus, but it's a suburb of Houston. Starlin and Gail are also here in Houston. We've got some supporting staff that are in other areas, so definitely love seeing where everybody is joining us from. So welcome. The Federal Building Personnel Training Act, which is a mouthful, so it's the FBPTA, has been designed to enhance the skills and knowledge of building personnel working in federal facilities. So what that means is doesn't mean that you have to be a federal employee. If you are working at a federally owned building or rented building, then the FBPTA says you should be trained, which is a great thing. So this act went into place in 2010 and it continues to be added to in terms of what is expected of the FMs who are operating and running the building. I'm sure everybody listening would probably say it's a good idea to have someone who's been trained or is knowledgeable actually running and operating these buildings. So this act wants to equip those FMs and staff with the latest practices and standards. It's to improve that management of federal buildings, wanting to make sure that they're safe, they're healthy, they're efficient, they're cost effective. There's a fiduciary responsibility to help the taxpayers, which is all of us, to be able to um, maximize that the tax funding to be able to have those great buildings and to be able to provide that last bullet point, valuable insights that contribute to enhanced performance and environmental stewardship in federal operations. For those of you joining us outside of the United States, your own countries will most likely have something similar. I know that globally there's a lot of effort in making sure that buildings are healthy, they're a safe place for people to come into. I believe the stat is most people spend 92% of their time somewhere in a facility. So we want to make sure that they have a very safe place to be there. So all of these words is basically saying, let's make sure that our facility teams are trained.
Fantastic, Kim. Thank you so much. So with that act, we want to share a little bit about how IFMA aligns with not only the FBPTA, but other government initiatives and strategies. So we offer training and a full credential regarding sustainability initiatives. So we have the SFP, or the Sustainability Facility Professional. We're going to go into that in a little bit more detail here in just a moment. But we also are just very much trying to help GSA facilities become like high performance buildings. We understand that the government is the leader of all of the building initiatives, and typically once they start implementing training and things of that nature, all of the other buildings follow. So we definitely have sustainable initiatives to help you guys start implementing what the government is asking us to. Also, strategic space management and risk and management. Sorry, I'm getting tripped up. Some risk management and compliance. Kim, if you don't mind going into a little bit more detail, I know that you went to Advocacy Day here recently. Would you mind sharing some of your experiences there and how IFMA is aligning with some of those initiatives?
Yeah, thanks. You're right. Advocacy Day is something where IFMA brings its members once a year to the Hill into Washington, D.C. And I saw some of you are joining us from D.C. It's an amazing experience to be able to meet with your state representatives, to learn more about how to advocate. And basically, what that means is be a resource for those who are not facility managers, who are being asked to put policies in place, who are being asked to make decisions, so that you can show that you're knowledgeable and again, be that resource. Um, Starlin, you mentioned that, if federal buildings are doing something, all other buildings probably will as well. I've seen such a circle in feedback and implementation. So if the federal government begins doing something, they're requiring something, you see the Training Act. Industry also will start looking. They keep an eye on what the federal government's doing because that can give them a heads up for something that they may have to be in compliance with. But also the federal government's watching industry to see how are they solving issues. For example, return to office. Right here we're looking at strategic space management. You've got to make sure that buildings are being occupied or utilized. So if you have a building that only has 13% of it being occupied, is that a good use of that space? Could it be used in a different way? And so that's really when we're talking about advocacy and talking with the different representatives to be able to provide them with the resources because they are looking at that. The federal government has the same issues that private industry has. And so learning from one another and putting reasonable policies in place is something that IFMA advocates for. It doesn't matter which administration's in, it's about running efficient, healthy buildings. So, a lot of what we see here, there's such a great alignment between federal agencies, private industry, and what IFMA is doing. If you think back to what we talked about, our mission and vision is it really is to advance the profession. And we do that by empowering and bringing our collective knowledge to those who are in the field, who are running and operating these buildings.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kim. Gail, can you go into a little bit more detail about how IFMA credentials align with some of the GSA goals as well as the FBPTA, please?
Absolutely. So typically we have a different view of how our
Jack, can
credentials.
you advance the slide, please? Sorry, I think we're still, there we go. Thank you. Go ahead, Gail. Sorry.
That's all right. Thank you. Typically, we have a different view of how our trainings are listed out. We wanted to do a little bit different way to show you. So we wanted to start with that highest level for those who have 5 or more years of experience in FM. But first, again, going back to that FBPTA, I see some numbers tied to our credentials. Kim, can you go a little bit more into detail
Hmm.
what this is and how this
Yeah.
looks, how this works?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. FBPTA, it's such a mouthful. So we talked about the fact that this is going to grow, right? The expectations. I think we've all seen facility management profession. It's not a shrinking profession. There's more and more that's being asked. There's so much value that facilities teams bring to every organization. So the FPPTA calls these performances. Now, the FM related performances that they include are 154. Of those 154 FM related performances, we have mapped to IFMA's credentials here how many of those performances it basically supports or provides knowledge in. The CFM, because as Gail started to tell us, that is our certification. It requires that you meet eligibility requirements. It's because you are a very well rounded and knowledgeable FM. You've got the experience and the expertise. So that's why you see 131 there. Now, IFMA has optional prep courses, but really it's going to be experience and training over years that's going to help you reach that. The SFP, which has training materials, and we'll talk about that in a moment, it maps to 55 of those FBPTA performances. The FMP, which is our foundational credential, maps to 90. And so this is how we align to what the FBPTA um, expresses the FM should know. And one thing I didn't mention about this act, right now, it's not really being um, people are not being held accountable to it. And that's one thing that is really allowing, I think, our different federal agencies to make sure that their people have that opportunity to get trained. But at some point, there's going to be a requirement, which is what this act is showing. So now is definitely the time to really, when we get into some of the strategies that we've prepared for you and just kind of that practical implementation, take that to heart and think about how do you want to make sure that you're knowledgeable. For those of you who may not be working in a federal building, this also applies to you. So the professional development that Gail's going to walk through, it's really going to give you, I think, some good ideas. And then we're here to help support you and see what you really need. So Gail, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Perfect. So we do actually try to tailor our needs. I'm sorry. We do try to tailor our training to your needs, starting with the CFM. Oh, sorry, Jack. I go back one. Thank you. So the CFM is going to be our highest level. It is a globally recognized certification. No training is required. There are eligibility requirements to sit for this proctored exam. If you have any questions, please reach out to corporate connections at ifma.org. We'll gladly help you get through to get those questions answered. Going into the SFP, this is a lifelong credential. And please don't feel because of the way they're stacked on the pyramid, if that's how you see it, or here on this slide, you're not going back to earn an SFP. You're not going back to earn an FMP. Um, if you're already a CFM holder, take that step to being that go-to person in your organization for all things sustainability related. That's where the SFP helps you shine and help your organization meet that triple bottom line. I know it's an old phrase, but it does help you um, sorry, it does help you and your organization meet those standards that the government is trying to help enlist. The FMP, again, is foundational. It does cover areas, four main areas, and it's going to be focused on FM and how FMs use these four specific areas. If you are not looking for a credential or maybe you're brand new to the field, on the next slide, you'll see that we do have training that can help fill gaps in knowledge. So those core competencies, you can take one of those, you can take all seven. Again, if you have questions, you're not sure where you are, where you should start, we're here to help you. The essentials also is going to be a really good starting point for those who are new to FM, or maybe they're in adjacent roles. Maybe you are an HR rep and you're responsible for managing the FMs of your organization and you're not quite sure what they do. The essentials is a really great starting point to understand some of that vocabulary, to help understand kind of a day-to-day tasks that FMs are expected to complete. It could also, again, yes.
No, I didn't want you to interrupt you in mid-flow, but I did want to share that there is a question that we've got in the audience that asked, how does IFMA training help people starting in the field? And I wanted to really accentuate what you're saying here. If you are beginning in the field, essentials of FM or facility management is going to be the course that you want to start with.
Perfect. And then we do have a quick survey. It's the Career Compass. Go in, it's a quick 2-minute survey, fill it out. Somebody from our team is actually going to respond to you. Again, it's figuring out where you are in your role, where you are in your journey, and then we're going to help answer questions just to make sure that you're on the right training path. Some people think they should start with the essentials because, oh, I don't do anything with finance and business. I'm not ready to start the FMP. But then they don't realize, through conversation, it's like, well, you actually do know a little bit more. Maybe you're not responsible for the finances or the budget, but you have dealt with it or you have dabbled in it. Um, this is where we
Or
get to show our expertise and helping just start this conversation to figure out which is going to be the right training path for you.
and when you were talking, Gail, I happened to think it may be something that they're not currently doing, but it gets them ready for that next step in their career. So the career compass really will help you identify of everything that Gail's just talked about, where are you in that spectrum? Are you closer to beginner level or are you more at that master level, depending on your own experience and knowledge? So the QR code there will take you straight to the Career Compass. We have some additional members on our team that will be putting into the chat a bit.ly link. And here's a comment from Mr. Brent Ward. Hi, Brent. IFMA Essentials and FMP training gives you a great foundation to build on as you work to qualifying for your CFM. You can do it. And Brent would know. Brent, we've known you for several years now, and he's really made it a mission to gain that additional knowledge. He is a CFM. He's an incredibly well-rounded FM and has checked all of the boxes, but still continues to learn. You can see he's part of this webinar today to be able to continue that learning journey. Thanks.
Perfect.
Jack, next slide, please.
Thanks, Kim. Along with the training that we offer, we wanted to go ahead and provide you with some other great resources specific to GSA. We want to remove the guesswork. We know that this can kind of be hard to find sometimes. And if there's a specific link that you would like, please comment. We're happy to share that with you in the comments in the chat. And please take note of the information in the top right corner. That is our federal unique entity ID number, as well as the GSA contract number. This is very important information when searching for IFMA in these different areas. And also probably information that you're going to need from us in order to have different training approved. So first is going to be the GSA e-library. You'll be able to find us in there. We are on the multiple awards schedule for federal, state, local, and tribal governments for you to be able to purchase commercial products and services such as our training. So we are listed on there. Another really great resource is going to be the Army Cool. So if you are in the Army, we are part of the Cool program. I know that the CFM is listed on there, and we have direct links to that. If you have specific questions, please reach out to us at corporateconnections@ifma.org, and we can make sure that we get you the proper information so that if this is something you're interested in pursuing, we can help you get there. And then lastly, the GSA Advantage, you're probably potentially also familiar with that. It is an online shopping platform designed for you guys to easily procure a wide range of products, and we're on there as well. So if you have any questions about these specific links or want them directly, please let us know. We'll also be sharing this information after the webinar with you. You will get an email if you registered with us with all of this information in there as well. All right. And I think, Kim, do you mind sharing a little
Mhm.
on the other resources that we have here to offer everyone?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Other resources through IFMA, and there are some comments coming in, which is why my attention was diverted for just a moment. What IFMA is saying is we need to aspire to hold ourselves and the people that are taking care of buildings to the best standards and best practices that we can. And so while there may need to be some improvements in the way that these buildings are run, some of the decisions being made about them that may be out of the facility team's control, as we all become better trained, more knowledgeable, hopefully from within, we can then also make some positive changes. So I definitely appreciate the comments. Please continue to put those in there. We will have a Q&A moment after or at the end of this webinar. As you're going through, if formalized training is not something that you can readily access, we do want to let you know that there's going to be some other training. One thing is, it's not just credentials, there are smaller, bite sized classes that you can take. All of IFMA's courses are available online 24/7. So it doesn't matter what your schedule is, what part of the world you're in, it's something that you can access. And then if you'd like to just talk about where you are in your experience, contact Corporate Connections at ifma.org. We'll be happy to help you with that. We're going to be sharing some additional things. We do have advanced tools to help you be able to identify your gaps and develop other plans. For those of you who are in the military, have transitioned out of the military, so you're a veteran now, we see that there's a lot of positions within the military where you're taking care of facilities that as you are looking to come into the private sector, it translates very well into this profession we love called facility management. And so the military community is one that IFMA has created for IFMA members who are either active duty or have transitioned and are now a veteran. So please reach out to these resources that IFMA has. We're going to be sharing some other things as well.
Some of the other things are going to be some practical strategies. So there's no wrong answer. There's all on the job training. So, yes, while this is definitely a great opportunity for you to learn about FM and how this specific role that you're in at this specific company that you're at, that is applicable. But if you switch jobs, what you've learned there might not apply to your new role. So this is where we've mentioned some of the training. So we also have micro learning, individual competency courses, IFMA's membership. Again, it's another way to network with other people in the industry. We also have technical certifications that we have through our strategic partner courses. There's also, lifelong learning. You already know what your strengths are going to be. Take this opportunity to really understand maybe some of the challenges that you face. Maybe you are expected to do some real estate pieces and you just don't have enough experience in that. We do have a course for that. And it's going to help you better understand to fill those gaps so that you, again, can be the best FM. So
Yeah,
sorry.
and that's okay. These are just it's to get you thinking. And if you're watching this webinar, you are interested in seeing how you can align and better and be better trained or more knowledgeable. So the blended learning approaches, one size does not fit all. And everybody has a unique way that they've come into facility management. More people are actually getting a degree in that, but a lot of people fell into it. This profession attracts those who want to make sure that everything is run correctly. They have a need to really take care of the people around them in the facility because it's not just about facilities, it's about the people and the place and their ability to do what they need to within that facility. So at the core of it, lifelong learning, and we're going to be going into some additional resources that you can tap into without it being a course or membership driven. So next slide.
Yes, so we'll talk a little bit more now about the career benefits that IFMA has to offer. So, first and foremost, networking. So, IFMA membership in and of itself connects you with FMs across the globe. So, yes, those that are also in your industry, but also those in other industries. And I think that it's important to share that we can learn from each other. And there are going to be different things that you run into that other FMs within IFMA's membership will be able to kind of help answer questions. We have various platforms available for you to be able to share maybe struggles that you're having, and other FMs can chime in and say, hey, I've run into this and this is what I did. And so you can definitely connect with others, not only through IFMA's platforms such as Engage, but also through our events. We have events throughout the year. We have one coming up actually here in the next couple of weeks, which is World Workplace, where you can come and network and see what different vendors that have to offer, and just really connect with each other in person at these events. Uh, Next, the other career benefits that we offer. So Gail's gone over in detail and Kim has chimed in too on the professional credentials that we offer. This can really elevate your profile within the industry. So this is going to, you may know a lot, but whenever you start to have letters behind your name, sometimes that gives you the extra push to be heard at different tables. So this can really open up everyone's eyes to what you have to offer, as well as job opportunities. You never know. Once you get a professional credential, some places actually require FMP or CFM in order to have certain job opportunities. So this can really open some doors for you. And then definitely that kind of leads straight into career growth. So recognition in the industry, positioned as a leader in FM, as well as sometimes you get paid a little bit more. So once you start solidifying that I know this and here is the credential that proves it, they're like, oh, okay, then this shows value. And that is sometimes reflected in pay. So let's go a little bit more into the thought leadership side of things. Kim?
Yeah, I've mentioned a couple of times that there are other things you can do that don't require you to become a member of IFMA or to purchase training, right? Formalized training. And this is look for ways you can access expert knowledge. There's a link here, and we're going to be putting this in the chat as well as providing those of you who have joined us with this slide deck. Webinars are a fantastic way of hearing about current topics, current issues from the experts that are leading their field. So tap into webinars to find out what's going on. There's also a podcast. If you go to ifma.org, you would be able to see a lot of additional resources. So accessing that expert knowledge is incredibly important. Publications. There's a lot of different publications out there. If you go to Google, you're probably going to have a bunch come up and you're not sure where is this being created and who is it? Are they credible or are they just giving you a spin on what their beliefs are without any actual factual backing? With IFMA, our free resources, we have industry white papers. They dive into different topics. Digitization is a huge topic right now within FM. There's a lot of building automation going on, which actually creates a little bit of a vulnerability in building. So if you think about IT, let's think about OT, operational technology. Well, we've got a white paper on that. So just go in and educate yourself on different things. Practical how to guides. A lot of times, an infographic, top 10 things to avoid, you can access that through our knowledge library. Again, go to ifma.org. There's a lot of free access to you that's not hidden behind a member login. And then also here, this last one, IFMA's Facility Management Journal. That is our bi-monthly publication. It is chock full of original content. Every article has been written for this particular publication by very knowledgeable people, and it's a great way to see what's happening within your industry. And then, of course, if you get a chance to attend industry conferences, take a look, see if any are coming to your city or to your location. One such that's coming to San Antonio is IFMA's World Workplace. You can often walk an expo floor either for free or for a very small charge. Those individuals who are manning those booths are a great resource for FMs, for facilities teams. Do not discount it. Are they there to hopefully have you sign up and purchase something? Absolutely, but they're able to answer your questions. And I've had a lot of members, I've worked with IFMA for over 21 years, who tell me they've become a very capable FM because of knowledge that they've gained from people who are manning expo booths. So please don't discount that. See what's in your particular part of the world and attend, ask questions, be curious. That's the best thing. So look for that thought leadership. It's all around you.
And
Wonderful.
we
Thank
want
you.
to thank you.
Sorry, go
Mhm.
ahead, Gail.
We just wanted to thank you for joining us today. We are going to offer discount codes. So if you are looking at any of those individual core competency courses or the essentials bundle, You can use the discount code FM Knowledge 50 to receive a $50 discount on that specific training. If you're looking at the FMP, the SFP, or that core competency course bundle, please use FM Knowledge 100 to receive $100 off your training. I know Starlin mentioned earlier GSA pricing. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at corporateconnections@ifma.org so we can make sure that you get the best pricing available. And I think we might have some questions that we would like to
Yeah.
cover.
Yes. So one that I just saw, ladies, is, and Jack, I'm gonna click on it. Okay, Adiola, I am not in the USA, so please explain the acronym GSA. I'm glad that you asked. GSA, in the purposes of this presentation, it is General Services Administration. IFMA has a contract on the GSA schedule, which means that we have gone through a lot of work to become an approved vendor for the United States federal government. And it helps with the procurement process. So we're using GSA to mean the United States federal government. And we're tying that to some of the policies that governments may set, requiring, for example, net zero by a certain year, looking at carbon emissions, looking at how is a building healthy, looking at certain efficiencies, if there's a certain level that they may need to meet with their energy consumption. That will influence private industry, but also private industry influences government policies and practices. So hopefully it's a full cycle. And in that, there needs to be a voice of reason and expertise. And we see that those who are the practitioners are the ones that we look to provide the federal government with the knowledge and the context. So, for again, purposes of this presentation, it is to acknowledge that the federal government is one of the largest real estate holders in the US, and I am not a person who is an expert in all other regions of the world, but I do know that all of our governments play a role in policies and laws that are put into effect. And in order for those to be reasonable, we think that FMs need to play a role in that. And also, we're focusing on an act that says anybody who is operating and maintaining a building should be trained. So that's where the GSA comes into play. So, Adiola, I hope that that answered your question and helped bring some clarity to what we're talking about.
Thanks so much, Kim. I actually
Yeah.
see a question, if you guys don't mind popping it up so everyone can read it. I see there's a question that says, I have a UK certified FM. I'm keen in obtaining the SFP. Do I have to go through the standard route? And I just wanted to provide a little bit of clarification on the SFP. Thank TP Thomas from LinkedIn. Thank you so much for putting that question out there. So for the SFP, there is not a requirement that you have to have the FMP or the essentials or any other training courses. I see that you've already got a good establishment in FM if you've been certified in the UK. So we just recommend that you have a strong foundation in facilities management before taking the SFP or the Sustainability Facility Professional Credential courses, because there is going to be terminology that as an FM you would probably be familiar with. So if you don't have that foundation in FM, then yes, we recommend going through the FMP first. However, it sounds like you have a strong foundation, so you would be absolutely okay to just go ahead and go straight into the SFP, as if that is your goal. I hope that helped provide a little bit of clarification that there's not a requirement that you have to complete the FMP first.
Thank you. Thank you, Starlin.
Yes.
I see a comment from Michelle, and I just want to bring this up. Michelle, you're coming in from South Florida. We're definitely thinking of you today. If this webinar is being watched after today, Hurricane Helene is on its way. So hopefully, please stay safe. Um, I'm glad that you're finding information helpful. That's really the purpose of this webinar, is for us to help connect with you and to be a resource for you. So Michelle, thank you for that comment. Gail, is there any advice that you would offer? I know that you've worked with a number of different federal agencies and really helping to provide some guidance to those who are looking to get training. Sometimes funding may be a question, or where do I get started? If you wouldn't mind giving some of your tips and tricks.
Absolutely. I know a lot of agencies do have budgets set aside for training. Some of them don't require who the training goes through. I know that I have helped several groups succeed in having them allow that budget for training through IFMA. They just formed their own small group. That way, they had that camaraderie, they had that accountability, and then their supervisors and managers thought, that's really awesome that you came together on your own and you were able to go through the training. And we actually made it a very successful opportunity for them. So just know that you are not the only person probably in your organization who needs training, wants training. Um, we're here to help you with that. Um, Send an email to corporateconnections@ifma.org so that we can at least get that started, right? Let's start the conversation. We can provide you a quick informational flyer about convincing your boss to let you get some training, right? Maybe they don't purchase all of it. Maybe you get started with a course or two so that you can show them that you are serious about completing the training. And at that point, again, we can have another conversation. We're here to even talk to your boss, right? We're not going to make it a sales pitch because we do really feel that every opportunity that we get, because we're so passionate about FM and how we can help you in your role, that's what we're here to do. We want to ensure that the budget doesn't go away. So most times you have to use it so that you don't lose it. If you need help figuring out how to use that budget, please lean on us. That's what we're here to do.
Exactly. I think there's so many different areas where, and hopefully we've given you some ideas of where you can tap into these resources. Budget's not there, other things you can do. However, there are resources out there, and sometimes it's just being able to find those resources. So when we share this PowerPoint back out with you, be sure to look at that page about additional resources, and that will help. There's another great question here. Nancy posted a couple of things, and I really like this one. She's asking, how can she best leverage the CFM or FMP credential in her role as a professional facilities manager to meet those standards and differentiate in the market and pursue more advanced career opportunities? So what I want to say is, IFMA can't set any of the different goals. So a lot of those goals are going to be set independently, depending on whether it's private industry or if it is the government. What we do is provide best standards and data so that you can make data-driven decisions. And from your knowledge, first you're going to leverage that training in the decisions and the activities that you do in your work. So if you are just starting the FMP, please don't put that off. Actually start going through the material because it will help you with what you're doing right now. Leveraging a professional credential. Many individuals, even those who have a 4-year college degree, a master's degree, they will come in and get a professional credential because it will differentiate them from others when you are looking to apply for a position. It is an external party that says that you have developed this knowledge and you have comprehended and passed and met the requirements for that professional credential. So when you're looking at earning a professional credential from any place in any profession, my advice to you is do your due diligence, look into that organization. Are they accredited? So yes, and the answer is yes. IFMA is accredited by ANAB. It's the American arm of the ISO, International Standards Organization, and it is a third party that holds us accountable for policies and procedures and the way that we manage the material, the testing process, And it ensures that everybody going through this credential has to meet the same qualifications, the same experience, so that it remains credible and relevant. And look at the longevity of that credential. For example, the FMP is 20 years old this year, and we are looking to have over 20,000 people with the FMP. IFMA is an international organization, and so our credentials are recognized internationally because it is at a global standard. We do not have material in our training that is only specific to the US or only specific to Europe. It is at that higher global level. So when you're looking at your training, your professional credential should be visible. So to that point, Nancy, make sure you have it in, if you've got a LinkedIn account, make sure you reference your professional credential, make sure it's on your resume. Most of the professional credentials will have a registry, and so anybody can go in there and verify that, yes, you've earned it. And that also protects you because you don't want to go up against someone for a position who says that they are an FMP holder and they're not. So we maintain that registry, as do all professional organizations that have a credential. And then reference the best practices. A lot of how the the profession of FM is advanced is through individuals like every single one of you that are watching this webinar. You're the ones that show what a difference someone who is knowledgeable. I noticed a comment here before about the fact that it's leadership versus credentials that really will advance how a building is run. I agree. What credentials does is it gives you that credibility. If somebody is not an FM and they see that you are a credential holder, it will show them that you have been certified, that you're very knowledgeable, and it's something that is respected by other professions. So if you're dealing with other folks within your organization and you're giving them advice and you're trying to influence and be a good leader, having that formal training can absolutely help you to be able to achieve those goals.
Thank you so
Starlin,
much, Kim.
anything, yeah, as we've been talking, has anything sparked in your mind that you would like to share? I know both Starlin and Gail speak with a lot of FMs and companies that are looking to make sure that their people are trained and developed. So if you have anything you'd like to share, I'm going to, while you're talking, I'm going to just double check, see if there's anything else.
Sure.
But
Sure. And I actually, while you were chatting, I was looking kind of through the comments, and I noticed a couple kind of asking about if it's just written materials, are they only online courses? So that's kind of what I wanted to touch on before we close out here today. Is that IFMA recognizes that everyone learns differently. So we do have online training, that all courses are online. However, we also have virtual courses available that are live with an IFMA qualified instructor. And we have those, they run weekly for about 90 minutes. And you can reach out to us at corporateconnections@ifma.org if you're interested in looking at how those are scheduled. And then we also have printed books available. If you are the type of person that has to highlight, take notes, I'm one of those people. Then we also have hard copy books available as well. And then we also have live instructors that you can reach out to us. We can coordinate to have an instructor come in, or your local chapter. I saw something asking about local, what is the benefit of going to a local chapter? Well, that's one of them. Sometimes they put on trainings with a live instructor that comes in and will hold courses there in person for you. So we do offer that as well. And just to kind of go along on what other benefits local chapters have, that also has vendors that can come in and different things and resources that they have available in your area. So your area might have different vendors than someone in a different area. And we also have other networking groups of FMs that work in the same industry as you. So having the different membership communities that we have, as well as the local chapters, really kind of help you network in the way that will help you the most. So I hope I think I knocked out two questions in one there, Kim, but I just wanted to make sure that we addressed those before we got off today.
wonderful. And I just see one more, and apologies, but just because of time, we will need to end here. But please note, we do take a look at the comments that we maybe did not address, and we'll get back with you. If you have questions that you're not comfortable putting in a public forum, please do reach out to corporate connections at ifma.org. So Ree asks, how does this apply for those who work for a firm and not buildings? And I appreciate that distinction, Ree. I think what your question is, if you do not own the building, how do you influence some of the ways that it's run? And I will say, if you're leasing part of the building, it may be difficult for you to be the one to make the decision, but you can influence what's going on, find out who is the building owner, and then bring certain things to their attention. If you are working for a firm and your role is in the facilities team, I know you're concerned about how people are able to utilize those buildings. And you may also, if you're looking sustainably, the question can arise, what happens to all of the trash that's created? Is it all going to a land up? What's happening? What I would say is get with the leasing company and express an interest and a need that you need to be able to report on that it's very important to you, to your organization, to understand what is being put into place for that building to make sure that it is a high performing, efficient building. And so I guess overall, ask questions and let them know what your expectation is. So you don't have to work for a company that owns the building to influence what's happening. I would say in America, we say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I'm sure that there's some version in a lot of different areas. So the one who talks the loudest or asks the most questions can find out and hopefully influence. I know the building that IFMA is in, we moved here 14 years ago. Don't quote me on that because the years have been running together. Before we moved into this building, we worked with that building and we let them know it's very important to us as the Association for Facility Managers that they have sustainable practices. And so the building actually did a lot of improvements, was certified, and has been a great building for us to be in. And so it's making those connections and asking the questions and ac- asking them to do better. So with that, Starlin,
Yes,
I think that
absolutely.
would
Well,
be our last question.
thank you so much, Kim. And as she mentioned, please, if you have a question that you feel didn't get answered, we will be going back through the comments and addressing them. But also, please feel free to reach out to us at corporateconnections@ifma.org, and we'll be happy to even schedule a call and chat with you if that's something that you're interested in. So, thank you so very much for joining us today. We are so glad that everyone came in. We hope that you got some really great information. Please check out our website at ifma.org. But other than that, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day or an evening, and we will catch you next time.